100 hours later. Let me check how long the game's been out. I should not have done that math. Anyway, 100 hours later, I think it's safe to assume I like the game. Don't have to be the sharpest crayon in the shed to connect those two birds in the bush. Still, it's far from a perfect game, and my opinions from the previous video have evolved a bit. A link to that's somewhere up here, as I'm pointing over my shoulder like you can see it, even though I'm not using my camera. Galaxy brain there, Squid. Good job. We're going to go over what I like, what I was right about, and some things I changed my mind on, which surprised me. And we're trying something a little bit different here today. I've got some bullet points to keep things roughly on the rails, but we're going a bit more stream of consciousness. What I like. Overall gameplay loop, not much has changed from my initial feelings. There's buttons to push. Those buttons feel cool and impactful most of the time. Pushing buttons, in this case, is fun. Yay, big numbers. Each Descendant really does shine in their own way. Some of those ways fit better with the meta for farming than others, I admit. And I'm still trying to find which one I click with the best overall. I really want to like Sharon, but I feel like she and a few others I have kind of require some of the red mods before they really come online. If I wanted to nitpick the core gameplay experience, it really boils down to three things. First, some terrain collision could be improved upon. I really get frustrated when I completely stop moving because there's a pebble. Second, there need to be iframes while you're animation locked. Whether that's interacting with a thing or rezzing a teammate or having just been rezzed and taking what feels like forever to stand back up, getting blasted by everything that's around you. And third, sometimes my weapon randomly stops firing while I'm holding the trigger. I don't know, might be a me thing, might be a my controller thing, but I just replaced that. The controller, not me. That'd be weird. But this persists, and I don't like it. 2, the devs are being suspiciously not Nexon-y right now, which has got my skeptical fry face on, but let's wait and see. Most notably here, there's the changes to the encrypted vaults, both in reward amount and the inclusion of those mats in other mobs' drop tables, which is greatly appreciated. Because that minigame, I don't know. Also, big one, they got rid of the 3 balls being sequential, which is cool. I appreciate that. While the boss is pirouetting, trying to track the bunny player that's running around, it's distressingly annoying to try to play 4-ball Monty, and I can just appreciate that this is a thing of the past. Mostly. I've heard that one boss with the 4 that you have to destroy in order that's at the top of the tower, and the mission that was really long and a pain in the ass still does it. Not sure if that's a bug. We'll see. And huge one up here now, they added matchmaking to hard mode. Overall, the system they implemented here is a really nice middle ground, I think, where you can run a basic version with pugs just to get access to the different loot tables, or you can go in with a pre-made so that you can turn on and off specific modifiers, think skulls from Halo, to inflate your score and hopefully get extra rewards. Love it. Well done. And overall, it really does seem like they've committed to the buff, not nerf approach. In the past couple days in particular, there's been a lot of dialogue with the devs, talking about the Tamer and Glay situation. And they are also kind of being good sports about the whole thing and our million monkey approach to breaking the game, having ribbed back at us for not yet finding the even more OP thing than Tamer. And that transparency and dialogue is really continuing into gameplay experience monitoring, player reports, and bans. But there's not anything about micros from at least the outward-facing devs. Can't say I'm surprised here, honestly. I'm not a betting man. In another life, I lived in Vegas long enough to know better. But I would put some money on the devs being given a monetization framework that's managed by suits in some department with a name that even Ellis would say is a bit much. This last one could be on all of the lists, honestly. The Access Info tab. I struggle to overstate how greatly I appreciate having all of the pertinent info in one place. That's dope. I love it. Could be a little bit easier to navigate with a controller, but whatever. That's me for choosing to play with a controller on PC. However, that's about where my praise for the concept ends. We'll come back to that and talk about probability and psychology in a moment. Suspicions verified and changed minds. First, that grind though. Sometimes they're pretty reasonable and can be farmed with some persistence and patience. And other times they seem like the nonsensical ramblings of a hustle culture grindset grifter. There seems to be a reasonable balance between the two extremes when you look at the field as a whole, but gatekeeping specific characters with an impact on the engine of the game, like read as your system economics here, behind a comparatively lower drop rate feels sleazy and gross. Not like used car salesman sleazy and gross, but like I totally get why you did that, you monument to unashamed and unfettered capitalism and human impulsivity kind of sleazy way. Still, credit where it's due, real money conversions for Enzo must be off the charts when contrasted with the other Descendants. On probability in our monkey brains. Humans are almost universally inherently bad at imagining probability. It's limitations of our firmware. It's so widespread and well-studied, it even has a fancy name. The gambler's fallacy. Run a mission 100 times, hoping for a 6% drop with nothing so far. Well, the odds have to be clearing up soon, right? No, that 101st run still has a chance of 6%. Given the nature of stacking probability, my prior hypothesis about target farming as an express route to boredom at best and madness at worst seems accurate thus far based on my experiences. Yours are any different? Let us know. Overall, that becomes increasingly apparent with the amorphous material system, which relies on having a chance to drop a thing subsequent to an item that has a chance to drop. Now, my grasp of higher level math ends pretty much after statistics useful for academic or scientific research. But let's go through a generous example of how the probabilities work here. Let's say the amorphous material that has the chance for your thing has a 30% drop rate, and your thing has a 3% drop rate off the boss that you use the amorphous material on. Let's say you're farming for energy expanders. 2 sequential independent events in probability get multiplied together for the overall chance of an event. So that brings your likelihood of getting that expander down to 0.9% for the paired activity. Stings a bit when you look at the math, eh? By the way, math nerds, I may be underthinking this. Correct me in the comments if so, and I'll pin your correction. 3. Micros are really straining the meaning of that word. Yes, it's trendy right now to complain about the die system. Yes, Destiny learned from the backlash and changed their system. Yes, Warframe does Warframe things and sells pallets, which is cool and appreciated. Let's hope that Nexon learns from others' mistakes quickly here. Although Vindictus had RNG die unlocks, so maybe don't hold your breath on this one unless you want to wind up like a prolific 1970s Kung Fu action star. And while I'm personally annoyed by the price of expanders and catalysts with real money in light of the sequential RNG I just described, I try to remind myself that both the immediacy effect and the impulse to act and feel progress quickly are baked into humans for better or worse. Oftentimes we forget that we don't need to have the thing right now, even though we'd really like it to be right now. And I'm pretty sure some people with clipboards and studies taught us that with little kids and marshmallows back in the Dark Ages. That said, I do think this is one that I got wrong last time, since I hadn't thought about the need for expanding multiple weapons as well as Descendants. Stuck in Warframe brain, I guess, because Clearly, you wouldn't use the same item for Descendants that you would for items, and it's the two different colored potatoes. And if we follow Warframe and other free-to-play titles lead with this, these items should, in theory, become easier to acquire over time. So perhaps prioritize a few Descendants and weapons for now, and then revisit others as the system changes or doesn't. So for the short version, yeah, I still think it's worth playing, while also keeping an eye on your own proclivities or lack thereof for impulsive purchases. Once you burn through that initial hyperfixation stage where everything's new and shiny and cool, it's worth slowing down on to play other games, maybe just take a break and come back here for some mindless fun, or check out updates as they come along and the game grows. If you missed my previous video, which talks in a bit more depth overall, YouTube's likely recommending it to you right now on one of the sides here. The algorithm thinks you'll probably like it. I've been BaldSquid. See you next time.